Hi everyone, welcome in. My name is Upper Casserole, and this is Silksong any percent hitless. So this is a run that I managed to do successfully about a week ago, and I'm recording this audio after the fact. So my hope is I'm going to do some sort of like speedrunner-esque commentary where I'm going to walk you through, the route, all the strats that I'm using, why I'm choosing the tools I'm choosing, all that sort of thing. So hopefully you find that enjoyable. I myself am have been doing speedruns for about like 6 or 7 years, and I've dabbled in hitless here and there. I've done Hollow Knight any percent hitless, Cuphead any percent hitless, and this will be my third hitless run, Silksong any percent hitless. So we go through this opening cutscene here. We are technically allowed to skip this opening cutscene. You can use like an autosave at the start of the game, so you don't have to watch this every time, but I actually kind of prefer to sit through it every time. I don't know. I just find it enjoyable, I guess. But here we start off at the bottom of Moss Grotto. We're immediately going to go to the right and say hi to our friend Dave. So there's a secret here, and then there's actually a second secret here, and this is Dave. 6 slashes and then 3 pogos, and you get beat up Dave. It's like slightly scary. I mean, it's 10 seconds into the run, so it's not a big deal if you get hit. But we get a beast shard for our trouble, which basically gives us all the shell shards we need for the entire run. So we just get that out of the way 10 seconds in, and we're done with that, which is kind of nice. You can see me doing a bunch of jump dives here. This is actually the fastest form of movement until we get like run and that sort of stuff. I'm not doing it very optimally though. Like a speedrunner would do this, but they would jump much lower. And just dive more frequently, but that is significantly harder to do, and it's actually kind of rough on the hands, so I just don't bother doing it. Again, this isn't really a speed run. This is a hitless run, so, we're not necessarily trying to go fast. Now, as I said, I am a speedrunner, and I do take a lot of strats from speedruns, which is something I think hitless runners could do more of. Like, speedrunners are very good at finding consistent ways to get through rooms and fight arenas. In a lot of cases, the fast strats are also the safe strats. Not always. Obviously, speedrunners are willing to take damage if it saves them time. But in a lot of cases, I'm using speedrunner strats where I can because they're good. And I would rather go faster than slower, for sure. Example right here, this is a speedrunner stat where you can pogo these enemies, and it's like not really dangerous at all. I don't think I've ever been hit trying to pogo those. It saves a little bit of time. As we work towards our first boss, the Moss Mother here. So you saw I picked up a rosary string. We're grabbing a lot of rosaries. A speedrun, well, currently the optimal speedrun route actually also gets all of these early game rosaries that we pick up. But they use it for a very different thing than what we're gonna get. Because obviously we don't have to, like a speedrunner would skip all possible upgrades because they're slow. But we can go out of our way and get some power-ups and that sort of thing because, it's not a speedrun, and we'd rather be safe. So this is Moss Mother, actually a pretty terrifying boss, particularly because I try and fight them oh so quickly. If you fight them very, very fast and like deal your damage very consistently, their behavior will be consistent. But if you slow down at all, their behavior starts to become a little bit random, and it's kind of hard to deal with them. So I just go ham and try to go very, very fast, which gets me hit every now and then. Unfortunately, that went okay. And we enter another very long cutscene. So you are also in the conversation of saving time. There is a really nice quality of life mod, which allows you to like skip cutscenes and makes text faster. And that sort of things, and that is actually legal for hitless, but again, I choose not to use it. I'm running completely unmodded here. This is just base game, no latest patch as of this recording, and no mods or anything, because I just prefer it that way. We're also playing in English, because I'd rather read the text. If you're familiar with Hollow Knight at all, simplified Chinese is the fastest language in Hollow Knight, and it's night and day difference. Like, it is so much faster, it's not even funny. In this game, the difference between languages is much less. the text scrolls at the same speed. So like in Hollow Knight, the issue is that A, there's more English text than there are simplified Chinese characters, but also the text just scrolls like twice as fast if you're playing in simplified Chinese, which is just insane. Like it's so much faster. In this game, the scroll speeds feel pretty similar. It's just like a little bit less characters. So I don't mind playing in English because I'd rather just be able to read the text. All right, into the marrow we go here. A couple of sneaky enemies disguised as like little skulls on the ground that we have to be aware of, but nothing too crazy. We are gonna do a speedrunner skip, which is the beastfly pogo. To skip an arena and a lot of walking. It saves like a couple of minutes, I think. It's not really a sequence break. Like we're able to, like we're not going to get anywhere like that we couldn't get to with our current movement abilities, but it just saves a lot of walking and it saves us a whole arena. First, we're going to grab all these rosaries though. Again, we need a lot of rosaries to buy a lot of upgrades. So we're grabbing some of them. But here's the beastfly pogo. We're going to lure this beastfly over here and then try and bounce off of their head when we get them in a good position. Ooh, a little bit low there, unfortunately, but that does happen. Second try, we get it. So that gets us up here, which again just saves us a couple of minutes. So we're coming over to the right here to get a couple more rosaries. We're basically getting like all the rosary rocks in the early game because there's really not a lot of ways to get rosaries early. Most of the enemies in these areas don't drop any rosaries. And again, a speedrun would actually grab all of these rosaries as well, just they'd spend it on different things than we're going to be. Hi, Chakra. Don't accidentally buy a map. I have actually done that before. It's really tragic. Because you're just mashing through the text, but you accidentally mash A and purchase a map. It's not so great. All right, these pilgrims that spit things at you are actually terrifying. I have to slash that one right out of the air. It's not too bad, but they definitely can be a bit spooky. And then we're gonna go grab a breakable wall here and grab a, what is this, a coral commandment? Yeah. Which we're just gonna sell for money later. I like jumping underneath that guy rather than pogoing the spikes. Pogoing the spikes is a bit scary. And another speedrunner skip. This one only saves like 10 seconds or something, but we can pogo that guy and get up here and get ourselves the silk spear a little bit quicker. So the silk spear is a pretty useful silk skill. It deals 3 times your needle in damage. So it's the equivalent of 3 needle slashes, which is pretty good. It's a fair bit of damage. It like it kills a lot of enemies in one hit, and is useful against bosses. And speaking of bosses, we're gonna go fight. I guess not the first one, but we're gonna go fight the Bell Beast, which is the next boss here. So I'm going to try to do the Bell Beast phase skip. So once you get Bell Beast to half health, they are going to like hide underground and drop bells for like 20 seconds. And we would rather skip that. So we're going to try and get them to like exactly 1 hit above half health and then just burst them down to 0. So 4 hits there is good and a Silk Spear. This is actually a good pattern. So now they're exactly 1 hit above half health, so we're just going to wait for them to do that jumping attack again. So there it is. And now we need 3 more hits into Silk Spear. And that's it. So they were just doing the phase 2 transition right there. But we just get to finish them off quickly. It saves some time, and it's also obviously just... like, it's not like it's terribly dangerous to do phase 2 hitless, but like, you'd rather not. There's just bells falling randomly from the ceiling. It's not pleasant. So our first little dream sequence here. So falling or like voiding out in a dream sequence does count as a hit per like team hitless rules. Fortunately, this dream, there's no way you can fall or take damage in a dream, which is nice. But yeah, yeah. Other obscure team hitless rules. So falling in the mist counts as a hit, but getting mucked by muck maggot is legal. That is allowed in hitless rules. So good to know. Obviously, we're not going to try to get mucked at any points, but it is technically allowed. But no falling in the mist, which is unfortunate. Anyways, we grab our silk cart here, which, you know, doesn't really matter much. We just sort of need to, like, the only way to progress is to beat Bell Beasts, so we kind of have to do it. All right, and we're off. So our next step is we're going to try and get the swift step, I suppose. The ability to run, which is just like obviously required for the run, but also just like makes things go a lot faster. So it's definitely where we're going to head to next. We did a bit of a cutscene skip there. If you hit that lever and then leave the room, you don't have to watch the cutscene of the bell ringing for like 16 years approximately, which is nice. We're going to be doing that a lot. So working our way through the marrow, we're going to beat up this guy and grab this block of rosaries, which is quite nice. We actually did a trick there. So I against that spider, I did 3 needle swings and then a silk spear. Now, if you try that at home, you will likely get hit because your silk spear will not be fast enough. What happens is when you swing your needle and then try to silk spear immediately afterwards, the silk spear is very much delayed. There's just like a big delay where you're not allowed to use it. But if you change the direction Hornet is facing, you can silk spear immediately. So I do 3 slashes and then you turn around and then you turn back around so you're actually facing the right direction and then shoot your silk spear. And it is like literally like a full quarter of a second faster. We're basically doing that almost everywhere where we're shooting a silk spear. That was necessary for the quick kill against the Bell Beast too. I didn't mention it then, but you absolutely cannot get those silk spears off in time without doing some turnaround tech. Anyways, we're taking a couple detours here to grab some rosaries. We grabbed a craft metal. We're going to be buying some tools with that later, and then just get more rosaries. There's actually quite a few sort of hidden rosaries stashes like this in the early game if you know where to look. I know casually I felt very, very poor in the early game, as I suspect most people do. But yeah, there is actually quite a few hidden caches if you know where they are. One more cache over here. We don't need to hit that switch, so we don't bother. Then we're going to fall past the entrance to Hunter's March, not go in there, because that's terrifying. And then another secret hidden stash of rosaries. And then here right now we are walking past the room which holds the straight pin, which we are not picking up. A lot of hitless runners do. I personally don't really like it. We're going to be getting sting shards like very, very soon anyways, and I'm not going to have the slots for two red tools for like a really long time. So yeah, I just don't really see it necessary. Like straight pin is fine. Like it's a decent tool. But yeah, I just don't have the slot for it. Like we're just going to be grabbing sting shards so quickly anyways. I don't really see it worth it. But that is something I find really interesting. It's something I really like about hitless running, particularly compared to speedruns. I feel like speedrunners in general are like really married to doing the optimal route. And like will never deviate from the optimal route, which I don't think is like actually correct for most people. Anyways, but hitless runners are like most of them route it themselves, and they you get what you're comfortable with getting, right? And there's actually no necessarily correct answer. Like in speedrunning, it's just what is faster, you do that. But in hitless running, like, do you go out of your way to get an extra power up? Like, it could be dangerous, but it could be worth it. And it's like, it depends, you know. It's sort of up to each individual runner to figure out what they want to get. So yeah, most runners get straight pin. I don't, but you know, I think that's interesting. The ant arena here. This arena, I'm basically going to be doing exactly the speedrunner strats. So two silk spears to open. You beat up these ants with your needle. We're going to get a double silk or a silk spear against both of these flying ants. Here we're going to do another. Like you can see it really quickly there. I did like a turnaround before firing that needle on that ground ant, because otherwise you just won't get it off quickly enough. Basically, anytime I'm using a silk spear, like literally ever, I am doing a turnaround before it, because it makes it so much faster. All right, so this is Swift Step, which is great. We can now finally run again. And now the game's starting to open up a little bit. We have a couple of different options of what we might want to do next. We're going to go beat up Lace and go to Farfields. I'm also going to go out of my way to rescue a flea up here. So if you rescue 5 fleas, obviously you can get a shortcut to Greymoor. Awoo! I'm not going to be doing that. I rescued just that one flea, and then that's it. It doesn't do anything. There's zero reason to rescue the flea, but that's it. So for a very long time, this run, by the way, took me about 6 months of like practicing and working on it to get the run. And for 6 of those months, I was rescuing 5 fleas, and that was how I was getting to Greymoor. And then only in the last like 2 weeks, I have switched to fighting Moorwing instead, which I actually think is way easier. I wouldn't have thought that, and I didn't think that for like 6 months, but in watching some other runners fighting Moorwing, I'm like, wow, this boss actually looks tremendously easy. And rescuing 5 fleas is a lot harder than it seems. You have to go into Hunter's March. There's like a lot of spooky platforming. And I kept getting hit while rescuing fleas, and eventually it was like, yeah, you know what? Let's just fight Moorwing. And I just 100% think that is the much easier path. Anyways, this is the arena to get to Forge Daughter. So this is something you wouldn't see in an any percent speedrun, because an any percent speedrun has no reason to go to Forge Daughter. But we're gonna purchase the sting shards, and we're also gonna purchase a tool pouch, which is gonna increase our tool damage, which is very, very nice. So yeah, as I said, there's a lot of different hitless runners that do different routes of this game. I think literally every single speedrunner or every single hitless runner grabs sting shards. Sting shard is just like the best hitless tool in the game. It's so very strong. The fact that you can lay it like before an enemy spawns and deal damage to them while also attacking them is just so huge. It's a really, really powerful tool. I'm not going to use it for a minute though, and we don't actually need it for Lace, but it's nice to grab it now. So, Lace 1 is actually a really, really awkward fight. You can see me really keeping my distance. It's just like, it's hard to explain exactly if you haven't like done speedruns or hitless runs, but like Lace 1's movements are all so incredibly awkward. You just cannot get in her face because of like really tricky things that she does. Like one of the things is after each of her attacks, she sort of does like a flourish with her sword where she just like holds her sword up. That actually has a hurt box. If you're too close to her, that will actually hit you. And then she also has the habit of just like hopping forward. And if you're like trying to get up in her face, she can just hop into you very easily. So yeah, it's just like a really awkward fight. And I really don't like it very much, actually. I jokingly say that Lace 2 is actually an easier fight than this one, but only somewhat jokingly. Like, Lace 2 does not have a lot of these problems that Lace 1 has. Lace 1 is just so incredibly awkward. Anyways, Lace down. Again, we hit the switch, leave the room, so we don't have to watch the cutscene. The door is open. Alright, coming over to Farfields to grab the Drifter's Cloak. Pogo that enemy there. Oftentimes that enemy just isn't in your path at all, but I just always do a pogo there, so if they are in the way, you just pogo them and it's fine. Lets you move quickly through that room. Let me say hi to fourth chorus for the first time. So this is... I leave the room because I forgot the movement, but what I'm doing here, this is not quite the speedrunner movement, but it's kind of pretty close. They do something similar. They'll actually try to pogo the enemy, though, which is a little bit too risky for my blood, so I just go underneath them. But either way, you get through the room pretty quickly. So we're going to grab the quest from the seamstress so we can get our cloak. So on this patch, which is like the latest patch, cloak is required. So as speedrunners right now, the optimal any % route is to down patch to literally the release patch of the game, where you can actually not get cloak and still finish the game. But on pretty much every other patch, cloak is required. So we're gonna grab it, and I'm playing on latest patch. I'm not a huge fan of down patching in general. But yeah, I mean, that's just a personal preference thing. It's not, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. Anyways, we're farming some spine cores here. I wish I could farm spine cores the way that speedrunners do it. If you've ever seen a speedrunner farm spine cores, it's pretty absurd. But we're gonna take it slow and steady. So the hokers, which are these floating enemies, will respawn every time you leave the room. So we just leave the room and farm this one hoker over and over again. We need 25 spine cores, but you can do some things like slash them out of the air and stuff. Or just miss all of them and have them fall into the lava, you know, whatever. Cool little silk spear to like get some out of the ceiling, which is kind of cute. Okay, so we have enough because the spine cores turned yellow, so we just save and quit to go back to the seamstress. Yeah, save and quits are allowed in hitless as long as you're not like in danger. So you can use them for like fast travel, but you can't use them to like avoid getting hit by something, if that makes any sense. But there's not actually very many save and quits in this run. Especially compared to Hollow Knight. Like almost everything in this game is a hard save. So there's really not a lot of save quits. Whereas in Hollow Knight, there's save quits all over the place. Anyways, we grab the Drifter's Cloak. And as I said, at this point, you could take the option of now going and rescuing 5 fleas and then riding with the fleas to Moorwing, or just going up Farfields. And rescuing the fleas means we wouldn't have to fight Moorwing, but I'm going to be fighting Moorwing because I honestly just think it's easier. But first, we're going to come over here and grab a relic. Just, again, some more cash for later. Grab a bone scroll, immediately quit back out to the seamstress again. And then we can go face the 4th chorus. So, for 4th chorus, there is this very convenient cache of silk hidden up here. So we can grab this and get a full silk bar, even though we just saved and quit. And then the 4th chorus, which we are sadly not going to be fighting, because we can instead do this. Bye, 4th chorus. See ya never. That is one of several fourth course skips that are possible. Fourth course is like the easiest boss to skip. So I do it with a heal there, which gives you a little bit of extra distance. You can actually do it without the heal at all. It is entirely doable, and that's what speedrunners would actually do. It saves like a couple of seconds, but the heal makes it a lot more lenient. Like, you can actually make that jump without even grabbing the ledge. Like, you can just like land feet first on the platform. So yeah, it's actually pretty lenient if you just do a dash into a heal, which sort of carries your dash momentum a little bit extra, and that works pretty well. So up to Greymoor we go. This movement's not particularly scary. I do want to beat up these flying guys right here, actually mostly for the silk, not so much because they get in the way, but I want some silk for the upcoming arena in Greymoor. Make sure you don't get caught in the explosion. And we're good to go. So here we're gonna do a little bit of speedrunner-esque movement to like jump over all these enemies. It looks a little bit scary. It's not too bad though, really. And same with this second group. You could also just like beat them up or silk spear them. Like, it's not actually necessary to do it that way, but it's really not that bad, honestly. All right, this arena, here we're gonna start seeing sting shards being used. Here we're gonna do a double sting shard explosion, and that guy just gets completely deleted. So sting shards, if you hit them before they arm completely, or if you like lay two sting shards on top of each other, they explode like that. And that actually deals massive damage because each of the 5 spines like go off in a different direction. And if you do that like inside of an enemy, they just take damage from all of it. We don't use that trick very often. It's like pretty limited in use because you have to be like perfectly set up before they spawn and like have 2 sting shards to throw, and it's like it's awkward for like flying enemies and stuff, but we do use it on some, like that enemy there, and it just completely deletes them off of the map. There, we get to open that shortcut, which is nice. That'll be handy later, which is another advantage of this route, whereas if we rescued fleas, we'd have to go the long way around later. Anyways, this is Moorwing. Honestly, a pretty easy boss. They fly, which is like adds a little bit of trickiness to it, but they're honestly pretty slow, and there's just like very consistent strats for everything. Yeah, that whenever they dive across the arena, you just pogo them and then shoot a silk spear, and they will always like throw their claw out afterwards, and you just hover above it with the silk spear. It's very nice. Gets a lot of damage, and also, so there it is right there. Gets a lot of damage and also just like avoids their attack every time. Yeah, the other nice thing about this fight is that the arena is just like super wide. It's like 4 or 5 screens wide. Because in hitless, a lot of times the scariest thing about bosses is like if you get pushed into a corner, or if they get pushed into a corner and it like changes their behavior slightly, or like you don't have room to maneuver. But that's just like never happens with Moorwing because the arena is huge. All right, here's Bellheart. I'm sure it's fine. We are going to bench here to get our regenerate some sting shards because we've used a couple. But then immediately we're going to go to Shellwood. I like that movement a lot. You do like a pogo in the air and then immediately umbrella, and it gets you like underneath that guy, but high enough that you'll still grab the ledge. It works quite nicely. Here we're gonna do a cute speedrunner pogo. So that the pogo hitbox spawns like well before the like hurt box of that enemy, so you can just pogo them, and it's not really dangerous at all. We're gonna start laying some sting shards and snipe some of these enemies as they spawn. Works really nicely, and then we have one last sting shard for that guy. Yeah, an interesting thing about that arena, the stick bugs will actually spawn in different spots depending on where you're standing. So like if you're standing in the middle of the arena, they will spawn on like the left and right side. But if you're standing on the left or right side, they'll like both spawn on the other side, like away from you. Which we take advantage of there, and that's also where I was setting up the sting shards for. Hi Chakra, bye Chakra. Alright, a bit of tricky movement here through Shellwood, but nothing too crazy. Just kind of go quickly, avoid the enemies. So coming up next is Sister Splinter, but if you're familiar with speedrunning in this game at all, you know about the Sister Splinter skip. So we're just going to lure this enemy over here by repeatedly attacking the wall after taunting them. And then they just hover into the perfect spot for us to pogo off of them. It's a very easy skip to do yourself. You just have to know how to taunt, which is like R3 on controller. I'm not sure what it is on keyboard. But there's a taunt button. Hornet can use it to get enemies to aggro to her. It's not like strictly necessary to beat up that flower. I like doing it. It's like a little bit safer. This movement in this room can get a little bit spooky sometimes. And with that, we get Cling Grip, which A is going to allow us to keep leftovers fresh in the fridge for longer, but also lets us stick onto walls, of course. So our next stop is to go beat up Widow. So we're gonna work our way over there. This room can be a bit spooky. Those like water striders can be in random spots, but nothing too crazy. A lot of spikes in that room. Take it a little bit slowly. It's a little bit of speed tech there. I'm trying to break. It's like a little bit weird, and I can't really explain it, but depending on your positioning, you can break these like bell walls in 2 hits instead of 3. I broke one of those walls in 2 hits, but that was it. All right, so Widow. Like, Widow is... Like, you could argue that Widow is the hardest boss in this run. I'd probably put her at number 2 after Trobio, but Widow is tough. She throws bells in random directions. It's terrifying. So we're gonna do our best. It's pretty easy to get like good damage in on her though, at least. But yeah, it can be spooky to avoid. There you have to be careful. Like I silk speared one of the bells, and that throws off its trajectory, and you can like accidentally deflect a bell into a wall and then have it rebound into you. Like, it's just, yeah. This fight is spooky. Yeah, dodge that bell. I'm not going to risk going in for damage. You can also, like, you can deflect bells. Like, if a bell is heading directly at you, you can, like, deflect it with your needle. But I'm very bad at it, and I never try to do that in runs. All right, for phase 2, what we're going to do is we're mostly going to hug the right wall. If you hug the right wall, almost no bell can hit you ever. It is technically possible to get hit by a bell. It has to be like specifically a vertical bell that lands near you and then bounces towards you, which is quite rare, but it does happen occasionally. So yeah, we just sort of hug this wall and play it mostly safe. Not like too crazy safe. Obviously, you can see him getting in hits and getting a damage, but get in Silk Spears whenever we have the Silk for it. Alright, and Widow down. With that, we grab the needle in, which again is actually required to beat the game. You can't get into Act 2 without it. I hesitated there because there's always like glitches or whatever, but like in a no major glitches fashion, the only way to get into Act 2 is with the needle in. Anyways, another dream sequence here. This one does actually have a pit that we could fall into, and that would actually count as getting hit. But it's not like it's anything too difficult. You can see me sort of doing some of the speedrunner movement there where I was like repeatedly pogoing into the ground. That is slightly faster than running. I do it sometimes, but again, it's like kind of tough on the hands and like, you know, it saves a little bit of time, but again, this isn't a speedrun, so. But we are making pretty good time. We're only like, what, like half an hour or so, a little bit more than that into the run, and we've already got needle in. We're ready to get going into Act 2 here. So after hitting this lever, I believe it is technically faster to save and quit to avoid watching this cutscene. Like you would just wake up right here. But instead, I prefer to dance. So there you go. The spider shuffle, as it were. But yeah, that's why we've skipped all the previous bell cutscenes by leaving the room, because it takes an eternity. Okay, so now that we have Cling Grip and the needle in, the map really opens up for us. So we're actually going to go run a whole bunch of errands right now. We have a whole bunch of upgrades we can get and some extra stuff. So immediately we're going to go pop over to Scrounge. I opened my menu there because that actually makes the title card, like the Bellheart title card, disappear. And that prevents you from like going in doorways. Anyways, we have some relics for Scrounge to get some rosaries. Then we're going to go talk to Pliny and get our needle upgraded. So needle upgrades in this game function sort of similarly to Hollow Knight. So in Hollow Knight, your nail deals 5 damage at base, and every nail upgrade gives you +4 damage. That is also true in Silksong. Your needle deals 5 damage, and every upgrade gives you 4 additional damage, which is huge, but that's actually not quite true in Silksong, because in Silksong, every enemy has a damage multiplier that changes based on your needle level. So, like, for example, an enemy might take, like, 1x damage when you have base nail 0. But when you get nail 1, they'll only take 0.9 times damage. So instead of going from like 5 to 9, it actually only goes from like 5 to 8, for example. So yeah, so needle upgrades are like slightly worse in general than Hollow Knight needle upgrades or nail upgrades, but they're still very good. We return to Bell Bottom to Bone Bottom. We can buy a craft metal, which we're gonna get use for another tool later, and then we're gonna go visit Ava. So you might be asking, I was talking earlier about how like the route in hitless is very flexible. Like, do some people use different crests? The answer is no. Everyone uses the Hunter's Crest, specifically the Evolved Hunter's Crest, because the Evolved Hunter's Crest is super, super overpowered in hitless. What the Hunter's Crest does is it gives you a focus meter, and every time you hit an enemy, you get a stack of focus, and once you get 6 stacks of focus, you deal 30% more damage. Yeah, 30%. And when you get hit by something, you lose all of your stacks of focus. So casually, you know, not the most useful thing ever. It definitely adds some damage. But in hitless, when we're not allowed to get hit by things, this is just a 30% damage buff, which is absurd. It is very, very strong. So well worth the detour to come out here and get. And yeah, just outclasses any other crest, at least for any percent. In like a true ending run, you could start talking about like Architect or Shamans maybe. But even then, Hunters is still going to probably give them a run for their money. But any percent, absolutely. Hunter's Crest, Evolved Hunter's Crest is just the bee's knees. While we're here, we're also going to grab a relic. There's a really easy to grab relic over here. Also, again, we would love to right now save and quit and go back to Bellhearts, but talking to Ava is a hard save. So we just cannot do that. If we would save and quit, we would just wake up next to Ava. And that's sort of what I mean by when I was talking earlier about how like everything in this game is a hard save. In Hollow Knight, you know, a lot less things are hard saves. You could probably save and quit and go back to your latest bench like almost always. So we have to walk out of here, which is fine. It's not actually particularly scary. It just loses a little bit of time. But yeah, that's it for shopping. So we've gotten a needle upgrade, so our needle now deals way more damage, and we've gotten the Evolved Hunter's Crest, so our needle does even more damage, which is great. Sadly, the Evolved Hunter's Crest 30% damage bonus does not apply to Silk Spear. I don't believe. I may be mistaken about that, but I believe that's correct. Your needle upgrade does. Like, the needle upgrade also increases your Silk Spear damage, but not the Evolved Hunter's Crest. Anyways, this is approximately halfway through the run, and I typically stream these runs, so I typically take a break right around now to run ads because Twitch forces you to, basically. So yeah, I'm gonna be sitting on this bench for about 3 minutes. So, you know, feel free to take this opportunity to stretch yourself, grab some water, you know, anything like that, or, you know, go ahead, skip ahead in the video and in the YouTube. But yeah, I'll be talking about some interesting routing things at this point. So at this point, we have 2 options, right, to get into Act 2. We could go to the Blasted Steps and fight the last judge and get into Act 2 that way, or we could go through the Mist and fight Phantom. And this is a really interesting choice, right? Like, there's pros and cons to each. Like, you could argue that one is easier than the other. I personally think they're about as tough as each other. Like, I don't think one is, like, especially harder than the other. So yeah, some interesting options. Going up Blasted Steps is slightly faster, like, from a speedrunning point of view. Very slightly, though. They're, like, very, very close. When I was routing this, my entire thought process for which way I should go was quite simply, Phantom is the coolest boss in the game. I want to fight Phantom. I am going to go through the Mist. So that's what we're going to be doing. But it's also, like, it is a totally valid option. I think it might be a little bit easier. Obviously, I've only really done mist routing, so I couldn't really say. But yeah, they look about as tough as each other. Going through the mist also has some advantages because you get cross-stitch from Phantom, which is really good. We're going to be taking very much advantage of cross-stitch as we go into Act 2. And then also, I mean... And you could do this anyways, but we want to go to Sinner's Road anyways because we want to grab the Barbed Bracelet, which is a really good tool. And so that like sort of naturally leads us to Mist. You could obviously go to Sinner's Road, grab Barbed Bracelet, save quit back here, and then go the other way, but it works out nicely routing wise. But yeah, I mean, I think it is cool that hitless runners can do sort of whatever they want. And I do know... Like, I am following a number of hitless runners right now that are doing Bell Route. I'm following a number that are doing Mist Route. It's cool that we, you know... It's not like a speedrun where you have to pick the optimal option. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that. So I guess we'll just sit here for a little bit until we, Hornet decides to start moving. We can listen to Pavo's dulcet tones. Previously, when I was doing the flea route, where we rescued fleas, I would bench... like, I would bench outside in the rain with the fleas, because that was much cuter, in my opinion, but... don't have that option anymore, so we chill with Pavo here. Yeah, apologies to the verifiers who have to sit through this. But won't be too much longer. This is the only break we're going to be taking in the entire run. From here on out, we'll just be sprinting to the finish. And we are making pretty decent time. Again, we're like, what, 40 some odd minutes in, and we're basically halfway done the run. Sherma spotted. So yeah, again, since we beat up Borwing, we opened up this shortcut, and we don't have to go through, like, the sewers to, like, the Bellway, which is our only other option to get up here afterwards, but we have the shortcut, so we can just go this way, which is nice. Again, like, it is actually one of the reasons why this is nicer than rescuing fleas. That movement is actually terrifying. Alright, so we're gonna go up here, and we're gonna take one more detour here to the left. To go and grab my favorite tool, which is the Pimpillo. And yeah, again, I think I am the only hitless runner that I am aware of that grabs Pimpillo, and I think that is a mistake. I think more people should grab Pimpillo because Pimpillo is really, really good. So that's why we grabbed the craft metal from the merchant in Bone Bottom. Pimpillo is just like a wicked awesome tool. I much prefer it to straight pin for sure. It sort of does like a decent impression of Silk Spear, which I really, really like. It's sort of exactly what you want out of a tool. It's like deals a very large amount of AoE damage to enemies. So I fall off the ledge there. This is not intentional, and actually by not hitting the switch, this is actually quite bad. We need to go all the way back around because I fell there. That's the second time I've ever fallen there. I've only fallen there once before. It's not terribly common. But yeah, going through this room again is a bit spooky, and I don't really know the movement, so anyway. We're gonna go back around, back up the tower. Yeah, I should like probably take that room slower. But the fast movement through that room looks so cool. Also have to jump over that guy again, which is not free. What was I talking about? Oh, Pimpillo. Pimpillo is amazing. It's really, really good. Yeah, like a large AoE burst of damage is exactly what you want out of a tool. Like that is so heckin' useful when you're like, there's like a bunch of flying enemies and you can just chuck a Pimpillo and just explode all of them. Like it's really, really good. Anyway, Sinner's Road here. We are gonna, again, take one more detour to grab the Barbed Bracelet. So the Barbed Bracelet increases your damage by 25%. But, yeah, I don't know how I screwed up that movement. But fortunately, that doggo cooperates. Ordinarily, I would fall, like, right into the gap there and just get out of there right away. Anyways, Barbed Bracelet increases your damage by 25%, but makes you take double damage in response. So again, casually not very good. For speed or for hitless running, very good, because obviously we're not going to get hit at all, so it's just 25% damage. We're going to move through this room. A speedrunner would skip this room entirely with a trick called the Chalamet skip in the previous room, but it's a little dangerous for my liking, so we just go this way. If you're wondering why I slashed at that door 5 times, that was just timing the flying enemy that is aggroed onto me. I was just trying to get him to de-aggro, so I just do 5 slashes, which is long enough for them to de-aggro. But yeah, that's basically it for Sinner's Road, and now we go on to the Mist. So the Mist is a little scary. Obviously, it's changes and is different every time. So we're gonna, have to improvise our way through it. But it's not too bad. And there's a lot we can learn. There's a lot of knowledge that if you know how the Mist works, can make the Mist significantly easier. And I'll sort of point out some of that stuff. On older patches, there's some really cool tech you could do called room juggling, which is makes the Mist way faster and less dangerous. Sadly, that has been patched out, so we sort of have to do the Mist in a more intended way. And obviously, after going all the way to the bottom of this room, the butterflies are leading me all the way to the top. Fortunately, the very first room of the Mist, which is the room we're in right now, will never have any wraiths in it, so that's nice at least. So that's about the worst possible thing that room could have done to us. But yeah, so the Mist has 8 different rooms. So anytime you enter a room, it's only one of 8 different ones, and just having them all memorized is really, really helpful because you can sort of know where exits are, that sort of thing. In this room, this is the 3rd room, which is right before the halfway point. So the next room is going to be the crossing, the halfway point. And that means this room, the exit has to be to the left or to the right. It can't be up or down. So depending on the room that you get, we might not even have to check with butterflies at all. This room has more than, has several left and right facing exits, so I do have to actually check. But you wouldn't always have to. Anyways, that wraith we're just going to ignore. And this is the crossing, this is the halfway point. And on current patch, the thing you can do is you can actually backtrack back through the crossing. You can do this as many times as you want, and every time you do, you'll get a different room. So it just re-randomizes the rooms for the second half. And I would basically do that until I get a room that I like. This room is actually the best possible room. This is M7, it's called. This movement is less dangerous than it looks. Those wraiths will never touch you. But yeah, this basically guarantees that the second half of the Mist will only be 2 rooms long. Because the final exit... So this is the final room, and the final exit in the Mist has to be right-facing. Because, for the geometry of Biowater to work out, it has to be right-facing. And... basically, if there's no legal right-facing exit because you came in through the right-facing exit and there's only one right-facing exit in the room or something like that, then what will happen is the Mist will just give you extra rooms. it'll just say, okay, yeah, the correct answer is up. And then you go up, and now you have to do an extra room. And this can go on forever. Like, I have done, like, a 5-room second half of the Mist before. Whereas most of the time, it's only going to be 2. So anyways, that was only 2 rooms, which is nice. You can get out of there quickly. But yeah, the Mist can get kind of spooky that way. Anyways, into the exhaust organ. We're going to sit on this bench so that we can equip the barb bracelet. So from here on out, we'll be taking double damage. Oh no. But dealing slightly more. But yeah, between the Evolved Hunter's Crest and barb bracelet, we have 55% bonus damage from like what a regular sort of playthrough would have, which it really starts to add up. We start actually beating up things pretty hard. First, we have this platforming, though. This is actually pretty spooky platforming. Like, it's arguably, like, the trickiest platforming in the game. Not that it's, like, terribly hard, but if you screw up this platforming at all, you are getting hit. Like, you are either eating spikes or you flubbed a jump and you are going to get hit by the mist because you're too slow. So, you really have to execute that part perfectly. Anyways, coolest boss over here. This is Phantom. We're ideally looking for them to do that jump attack they just did because you can punish it really hard. And otherwise, just sort of keeping our distance. Yeah, whenever they jump, they will always pause in the air and throw their spear. So you can just go right under them, get some slashes, get a silk spear. You're just gonna run back and forth a couple times. You can actually slash them while they are doing that, like, the light pillar from the ceiling attack. Which is actually not even all that difficult. I do it sometimes. But not here, because the fight's over. So there we grab Cross Stitch, or we're about to grab Cross Stitch, which is a really good Silk skill, particularly for hitless. I think technically it deals slightly more damage than a Silk Spear. So like if like the Cross Stitch has 4 individual slashes, and if all 4 slashes hit, it deals like 3.2 times nail damage instead of 3 times nail damage, which is what the Silk Spear does. But yeah, it's basically about the same. Of course, it's like much worse at doing like AoE damage, because like a Silk Spear you can hit like 3 enemies at once, where that really doesn't happen with Cross Stitch. But yeah, we'll be using it extensively, not exclusively. We are going to switch back to Silk Spear, back and forth a few times for the rest of the run. But yeah, we're definitely going to be making use of Cross Stitch. Yeah, sort of generally, Silk Spear is better in arenas, because you can hit multiple things, whereas Cross Stitch is nicer against bosses. Grab this memory locket so that we can actually equip Pimpillo. I was hyping it up so much. But yeah, we can just equip it here. Open up that station for later. We're going to use it to go back to upgrade our needle a second time. And then fun fact, if you sit on that bench and equip a tool, you get the like use tool prompt, and it lasts into this cutscene, which I think is hilarious. Down plus B. Got it. Thank you, game. Hi, Lace. Alright, so we immediately leave the room so that those 2 enemies that just spawned are... Where'd they go? Oh, they're gone. Cool. before we continue this trek upwards. This room can be a little bit scary if you don't know what you're doing, but again, we like leave the room there to like cause the enemy patterns to reset. You can run past this guy quickly. If you go up this left wall, this guy doesn't spawn. You can avoid that other sleeping guy on the right. Go up the spikes there to like not have to go past that guy. We mostly just avoid everything. It's not too bad. Now, once again, hitting a lever and leaving the room so we don't have to watch the cutscene. We can make our way over to Songclave and to the Cogwork Dancers. Notably, I am not going to sit... I'm not going to activate Songclave. Obviously, there'd be no reason for me to do it in an 80% run. But if you do unlock Songclave and sit on the bench, or if you just unlock Songclave, I believe, it actually will cause more enemies to spawn. Like in particular, outside of the bellway, like there's like the two enemies that I de-aggroed. Also 3 traps here. It's a very nice setup. The phase 1 of Cogwork Dancers, they will always have the exact same movement. So this one on the right is going to just trigger all 3 of these traps in sequence. And the Cogwork Dancers have separate HP pools, so you want to just focus all your damage on one of the 2. But anyway, so outside of the Bellway station, if you unlock Songclave, there will be enemies there. But if you don't unlock Songclave, there will not be enemies there. So anyways, that's just something cute. We obviously don't unlock Songclave, so we can always run through that room without any concern. Yeah, Cogwork Dancer is nothing too crazy. And we have cross stitch here, which is a really nice like emergency button to be able to press. Yeah, and we throw open pillows on them when they're in the center together, because why not? So funnily enough, I have actually gotten hit in phase 4, this phase right here of Cogwork Dancers before. The very first time I ever completed a run only getting hit 3 times, which was like my personal best at the time. One of the 3 hits was to phase 4 Cogwork Dancers, which is very funny in my opinion. At least now it's funny. At the time it was less funny. Once again, we have a really long cutscene here, so we're just gonna dance. So we're going to sit on this bench so that we can A, get our tools back, and B, switch back to Silk Spear, which we want for the upcoming arena. But yeah, I suppose speaking of my previous personal best, so coming into this run, I had, my personal best was 1 hit, and at this point I had completed several 1-hit runs, like I think 3 or maybe 4 separate runs where I only got hit a single time. And the furthest I'd ever gotten was to High Halls Arena, which is quite close to the end of the run. So that is what I was running against at the time when this run was happening. So pretty straightforward movement. It's nothing too crazy. That soldier that we just got past, just slash their shield, and they will always do a melee attack, and then you just jump over them. Works every time. All right, So here we have the Vaults Arena, a bit of a spooky arena, but we're well equipped at this point. Between the Sting Shards and the Pimpillo, we have a lot of tools, and Silk Spear. I'm doing some somewhat speedrun inspired strats on some of these waves. Like this wave, for example, wave 2. This is what speedrunners do, basically. Just get all 3 of those enemies to line up for a single Silk Spear, which is really nice. Really nice Pimpillo there to just, like, nuke both of those flying enemies. Again, yeah, Pimpillo is so very strong. It's like it so very much excels in like arenas with multiple flying enemies because you can just chuck a Pimpillo. It deals like between 2 and 3 needle hits of damage to like multiple things. It's so strong. All right. Take a detour here to go visit Cardanius. We're going to steal Cardanius' own Psalm Cylinder and then return it to them and get paid 200 rosaries for it. So we're actually not done purchasing things. We want to purchase one more thing from the 12th Architect, which we need 450 rosaries for. Alright. Getting past these Vault Keepers can be a bit tricky. I have a nice setup where I jump off that wall and dash, and it gets you underneath them every time. Also, that attack that he just did, it can hit you through the wall. So that's always good. Just avoid hugging that wall there. As we move our way through the vaults. Vaults is definitely a confusing area, especially when you're learning it. Like, my god, these rooms are so big and they all look the same. Yeah, we go up the right wall here to avoid aggroing that flying guy. We're going to take a detour to go grab the pale oil that is over here for another needle upgrade. Speedrunners used to get this pale oil, but it has since been proven slightly too slow. It loses, like, I think 30 seconds overall to get. But obviously for hitless, we're going to grab hits because it loses very little time and it makes a lot of fights a lot easier. Again, especially given that we have a 55% damage buff, just like any increase to our base damage is massive. And of course, it's also going to make our silk skills stronger too. That's me just resetting the room because I forgot the movement. Probably don't have to because that enemy doesn't like aggro until you get near them. But like, yeah, I tend to like wants to know my movement as I'm entering a room. And if I don't know it, I'll just reset the room. Fun fact, if you don't purchase a quill from Chakra, you can steal Trobio's quill. Save yourself 40 rosaries. It's also red in your inventory, which is very cute. Or you can wait until Act 3 and get a purple quill. But yeah, before we go fight Trobio, we are going to go and upgrade our needle one more time and switch to cross-stitch. Cross-stitch is very good against Trobio. You can cross-stitch the tornado attack as he's going across the screen, which is just like a really comfy and easy way to get damage in. And then, yeah, cross-stitch is also just like, you really need the emergency button against Trobio. Trobio is just simply the hardest boss in the run. He has a lot of random projectiles, which are two words you never want to hear together when you're talking about a hitless run. Yeah, random projectiles. His attacks can overlap with each other. It's a spooky boss. It's actually, I enjoy the fight a lot. It's like a boss fight I thoroughly enjoy doing, but yeah, he's definitely just the toughest boss in the run. So Yeah, we turned in another relic with scrounge to get yet more rosaries and upgrade our needle to needle 2. Now we're gonna go fight the Trobster. Oh, Drab and Trembling Squib. Yeah, that's me. Really nice setup here. We can set up 3 traps and he will immediately trigger all of them. Bang, bang. Knock him into the 3rd one. But yeah, there's the cross stitch against Tornado. It's super, super good. So far, no bombs. Oh, there we go. Yeah, bombs are very spooky. I did a blind parry there because when he's up against the wall, it's very hard to tell where the bombs are going. Yeah, nice cross stitch there. Again, yeah, it's like really, really nice when like Trobio combines attacks together. So for instance, he threw bombs and then immediately did a tornado. Just like ordinarily you would just jump over the tornado, but that was terrifying. That bomb exploded horizontally on like the ground level, which is incredibly rare actually. And super terrifying. I am like honestly shocked that I had the presence of mind just to parry it. But yeah, cross stitch just absolute MVP in this fight. Yeah, we can move on. And yeah, for those who are like not super familiar with like the speedrun and routing or whatever, you might be asking like, is Trobio required? Like, yeah, Trobio is actually the only way to get into this room. And we need, it's the only way to get access to the Vault Keeper's Melody. So yeah, Trobio is a required boss. While we're here, we're gonna go grab Clawline since it's right here and we do need it. We're gonna switch back to Silk Spear for the upcoming arena. And then do some sketchy looking underworks movement. So this is basically all speedrunner movements, which actually works pretty nicely. In this room, just hold run. Just hold run, and all the lava cycles work out. Don't go slowly, just go fast. I actually screw up there and bonk the ceiling, so I do actually take it a little slow here. But yeah, it actually reminds me a lot of Crystal Peak in Hollow Knight. The very last room before you get Crystal Dash, you do something similar where you literally just go as fast as you can and none of the lasers will hit you. It's like actually great. It's the exact same thing here. Just hold run and it works. It's fast and also safe. Alright, so getting out of here. We have to do this arena, unfortunately, because the door locks behind us. But it's actually a pretty easy arena at this point. Kill these guys. So these explodey boys, they die in a single hit now, which is really nice. We can just knock them away. Lure those two guys together with a trap and then explode them with a Silk Spear, which is really nice. Ideally, that first guy would have exploded that second guy there, but whatever. Nice and clean arena. It's very, very straightforward. From here, we're going to talk to 12th Architect and get another crafting kit, which is going to bump us up to 2 crafting kits, which, again, is just increasing our tool damage. So yeah, our tools are just hitting very, very hard now. I mean, we have two needle upgrades and 2 tool pouches, so they're sort of in line with each other. But yeah, pin pillows and stink shards are now going to be absolutely hitting very hard. And we switch back to cross-stitch. We're going to be using cross-stitch for the entire rest of the run at this point. You can just run past that guy. Full speed, he'll always jump out of your way. It's pretty great. And there's a platform here now, which is fun. That was added, like, literally in the most recent patch. I don't know why. Too many people were complaining about the spikes, I guess. I don't know. The spikes in the Underworks tunnel. Unacceptable. You need to put a platform there. What? Alright, well, anyways. Now, also, fun fact, if you have not beaten up... That was spooky. I, like, lost my grip on the wall and fell. If you haven't beaten up Phantom, like, if you go through the Last Judge route, that room will have mist shooting through the tunnels. Like, similar to the exhaust organ. But... since we went through the mist, we do not. Nice little claw line to get under that guy. As we work our way back up to Cardenius here. All right, actual hardest part of the run, remembering to actually play the Psalm Cylinder. I have numerous times given the Psalm Cylinder to Cardenius and then just not played it and left, which does not work out well, let me tell you. So, yeah, just remember to play the song. It's further tricky because we actually do visit Cardenius once and immediately peace out without playing anything. Like we did that earlier, so very easy mistake to make. Okay, with that, we're going back to Cogwork Core. Obviously, we could go up and through Songclave. There's a shortcut that way, but this way is a little bit faster and sort of gets us where we need to be. So that guy just dies to two Pimpillos. If they were closer to me, I would have just jumped over them, but when they're very far away like that, I like to kill them with Pimpillos. It's tricky because there's like a flying enemy on the ceiling that can just come off of the ceiling at any time, so if you try and jump over him, sometimes you just get got that way. So yeah, I'll just toss two Pimpillos there. We have a lot of extra shards. I actually bought a shard bundle from 12th Architect. In theory, I never need it unless I actually like start chain dying to High Halls Arena, which happens. And we still want to be able to finish the run, but otherwise, like, we shouldn't need it at all. We have tons of extra tools. Anyways, we're doing some speedrunner movement here to more quickly scale the Cogwork Core. Not entirely speedrun movement, like they would have done a skip right there instead of going underneath here. But yeah, in a lot of cases, again, it's just like, it is faster, but also it is actually just easier to like do a lot of these skips than it is to do the super like roundabout intended movement through this area. So for example here, we're just gonna go up here, and like this is actually easier than going all the way around. Like both faster and easier. I like this movement here where we just go up this left cog. Again, I find that actually much easier than trying to deal with the cogs on the right. Alright, this puzzle, it's the same pattern every time. This is kind of how speedrunners do it. I do it, like, actually still, like, quite a bit slower than a good speedrunner would, but I think it looks pretty cool still. We got a second piece of the melody here. I would hate to live in the neighbors. I would hate to be the neighbors of this tower. Man, another pilgrim is learning the 3-volt melody at 2 a.m. Like smacking the wall with a broom. What are you doing over there? Come back in the morning. Alright, we're gonna do speedrunner movement to leave this room, which looks terrifying. It's not that bad. I don't know. Like, I honestly prefer doing like a fast and consistent way than like slowly hovering the whole way down and like, you know, actually like using your eyes and evading and stuff, you know. It's like you just learn the fast movement once and then you just execute it every time. Like it's fine. We did this earlier too. I didn't point out anything. Pogoing over these guys is actually really hard. You're actually using the pogo iframes. Like you pogo and then immediately dash, and you actually have iframes for your dash, like from the pogo. And that's how you sort of dash through those guys. But it's easy to screw it up. Alright, so we are now going towards the hardest part of the run, which is High Halls Arena. Nerves are starting to kick in. This bell thrower right there, his name is Stinkerbell. Yeah, we don't like Stinkerbell. But yeah, High Halls Arena is just by far the hardest part in this entire run. We're inching our way closer and closer, and it's also right near the end of the run too. So yeah, at this point, nerves are starting to kick in. I don't remember if I said this earlier, but yeah, my personal best coming into this run was High Halls Arena, and I'd only gotten to High Halls Arena hitless like twice, maybe? Yeah, I think twice ever beforehand, so pretty rare, you know, circumstances are occurring right now as we go through High Halls. High Halls is nothing too crazy. We don't want to ride the water slide, as much fun as it looks. We do some speedrunner movement here to just run through this enemy right here. Their hitbox spawns in a lot later than you think. You just go full speed, they never hit you. Not doing speedrunner movement through this section, because it's actually terrifying. Didn't mean to jump off that wall. That kind of spooked me, but anyways, we're fine. Alright, so High Halls Arena, we are going to bring cross-stitch in. I personally think cross-stitch is inferior to Silk Spear for the first 10 waves of High Halls Arena. But for wave 11, cross-stitch is absolute magic. It is so very good. So that's why I like cross-stitch. I'm beating up that Grand Read for Silk, so we need full Silk going in. And that's part of the reason why I like Pimpillo, because we don't have Silk Spear in this arena. And Pimpillo, again, it does like a pretty good approximation of it. Here I'm pausing to close out of chat. I'm like minimizing my chat so I can like lock in here, because again, this is the hardest part of the run. We're right near the end. We're on 0 hits. You know, take a minute to breathe. But yeah, we're well equipped. We have a lot of damage and a lot of tools. I do have like very consistent strats for every, I would say very consistent strats for every single wave, but a lot of them are like, you know, 80, 90% good, and there's 11 waves. Like, it's a lot. This arena it sure is something. I really like those strats for the bell throwers where you lay a trap and then smack them into it and they just explode instantly. Here we're gonna do, or sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, nice strat to deal with the ministers there. You like double slash them in the air right as they spawn. Right here, we're gonna do the double trap explosion. So the second trap's gonna explode and just instantly kill that guy, which is really nice because this wave would be terrifying otherwise. These guys, the Maestros, they're kind of scary. They're generally consistent, but they can definitely mess you up. Now the Clappers with cross stitch are laughably easy. You can just get in their face. They can do nothing to you. Really nice setup there. The bomb exploded their projectile, so we didn't get hit. Same setup on that second minister where you double slash them in the air. I accidentally pressed parry there, and this is actually kind of bad, except that there's a silk ball on the floor. I need 4 silk for the next wave. So it's really, really convenient that there was a silk ball on the floor there, because I need this parry right there to deal with that guy. So yeah, final wave, the 2 Clappers, again, like actually not that bad if you have cross stitch. There's just nothing they can actually do. If they melee attack, you just parry, and anything else you just run underneath them, and it's like totally fine. That was actually a scary combo. That almost got me. But not too bad. Yeah, actually a kind of a rude final wave, but we got through it. So yeah, at this point, I have never been hitless this far into the run before. We're very close to the end. We have 2 bosses left. We just have Lace 2 and Grandmother Silk, but you know, anything can happen. Gotta learn the melody first. All right, let me start ranting about Lace 2. So I was talking while we were fighting Lace 1. Lace 2 is like, I've jokingly said that Lace 2 is easier than Lace 1. I jokingly say that Lace 2 is the easiest boss in this run. Only somewhat, though. Lace 2 is actually super, super consistent. And it's like sort of hard to explain exactly why, but in terms of hitless, she is so amazingly consistent. She doesn't throw projectiles. She doesn't overlap any of her attacks. She doesn't even jump into the air except to do her like triangle jump, but that's really consistent. Like it's always exactly the same height, exactly the same distance. All of her attacks you can dodge by dashing away. So if she starts winding up for anything, you can just dash away and it's fine. And so yeah, and it just like, it's like actually wicked consistent to fight her. Like she's fast, make no mistake. Like she's a very fast boss. You can screw up, whatever. But like once you learn how to counter each of her attacks, that's it. Like if she does her melee attack, you dash away and slash at her. If she jumps, you dash towards her and up slash. And like that's all there is to it. So yeah, so in theory, Lace is not that spooky, but obviously, yeah, she is fast, and it is right at the end of the run, and we're on hitless pace, having never been here before. So, you know, certainly spooky, but yeah. And yeah, it is also, I do find it really funny that we are going to be more aggressive against Lace 2 than we are against Lace 1. Against Lace 1, I'm like staying as far away from her as possible, letting her come to me. But Lace 2, yeah, we're going to get in her face and just attack her, because, I don't know, it's just something about her movement and stuff is just, like, it works out better. Lace 1 is just really awkward, as I was explaining at the time. Up the elevator we go. Also, Lace 2 always starts with the exact same attack, which is really nice. So we're just going to immediately walk towards her and slash twice and then dash away. Boop, boop. That was actually a bit spooky. Also, and I mean, this has been true since like Trobio, but our damage is actually like kind of absurd. Like we actually down these bosses really heckin' fast. With Needle 2 and like 55% bonus damage from Creston tools. Like bosses actually just do not last very long. It's a really easy cross-stitch punish whenever she does her jumping attack. I typically go for up slashes, but yeah, you can just like wait for her to jump into you and parry. It's really strong. Okay, and lace down. Yeah, not a bad fight. It was a little bit messy at the start. I think I was probably really nervous again, but towards the end, we cleaned it up a little bit. Right. Not actually a spooky climb, but we can call it a spooky climb at this point. Notably, I will use claw line to like go over all spike pits in this climb because I like don't want to risk pogoing the spikes. And that's just movement I always do. Like a long time ago when I was like learning movement for these rooms, I was like, at some point I'm gonna get here on hitless pace and I'm gonna like have just like my hands are gonna be shaking. And so I should just like not like my movement that I do should just not have pogos in it. So I just like can't possibly screw it up. Which I think is I think that's a good plan actually. And the same is going to be true as we climb up towards Grandma here too. So yeah, at this point, there's one boss standing between us and Hitless Glory, and it's Grandmother Silk. Not that tough a boss. Like honestly, yeah, like a pretty easy boss. She does have a little bit of like randomness to her. Like we were talking about random projectiles. She does have those. And yeah, she has some like overlapping attacks that can be like potentially tricky, but for the most part, she's a pretty straightforward boss. That's not too difficult. Yeah, definitely like a lot slower than Lace. We lay 2 traps here, which Grandma will very foolishly walk into at the start of the fight. Also, I truly believe this fight is way easier without Monarch Wings, or whatever it's called in this game, Fade Down Cloak. Because yeah, against like almost all of Grandmother Silk's attacks, you just want to hover, like stand still in the air. And with when you have a double jump, it's like way harder actually. Yeah, we just get a lot of damage in, and again, like once again, our damage is actually absurd. Like Grandma goes down very fast. Like there's phase 1, she attacked me what, 3 times? And phase 2 isn't going to be too much longer than that either. Didn't trigger the trap. It was a little bit too far to the left. And yeah, we have cross stitch, which is useful in emergencies. In theory, Silk Spear is actually really good in this fight. Because again, you can use it to like hover in the air, which is like all you want to be doing. But yeah, cross stitch as just an emergency button is really quite nice here. And there she goes. That is Grandmother Silk down. That is Silksong any %. Completely hitless. As we get completely blinded. But yeah, so as I said, my name is Upper Casserole. This is Silksong Hitless. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed this run a lot. It took me about 6 months. So of the hitless runs that I've done, Hollow Knight any percent, Cuphead any percent, and this Silksong any percent. This is definitely the hardest. This took me like I believe both Hollow Knight and Cuphead took me about 4 months each. And this took me a full 6. It was quite a bit longer. Not so much because this like run is that much harder, but it's a lot longer, and that definitely makes it harder effectively. Because it is actually just a significantly longer run. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to catch you all around. Cheers.